All right, what's going on, everybody? We're here. We're live. The Poker Live podcast, after a very long hiatus, is finally back. My name's Joey Grimont, a.k.a. Chicago Joey. Before we get into it, two things. One, podcast schedule coming up. I feel like I need to repent my podcast sins for you guys. So I've been lining up. I got a lot of podcasts coming up here. Tomorrow, we're going to do one with Jay Nandez, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to talk about PLO After Dark this week, talk about the action, talk about the players, talk about just the entire event itself, because obviously it's big for the great game of Pot in Omaha. Next Monday, we're going to be having on the newest German high roller in town, Stefan Stontheimer, Goose Core, the Poker Master winner himself. I'm excited to get to know more about him because I don't know that much about him. I just assume all Germans are kind of the same that are in the Fedor crew. So we're going to find out if that's true or not. And then next Thursday, we're going to have on W Coop main event winner. He took it on for $1.6 million. This is a guy I've known for a long time. Steven Van Zadelhoff. I've never actually called him his full name. So that's going to be next Thursday. You might be getting Sam Trickett on as well Tuesday to talk about what's been happening with Party Poker and those high stakes games as well. So, and then last thing is sponsored by today, and I'm trying to do better at these sponsor reads. Sponsored by, people always ask me, what's the best book to read? What's the best book for PLO to learn about the great game? And I always tell them I wasn't really sure in the past, but I've been reading up on some books these past couple months, and I've been working with PLO Quick Pro Manual a little bit. They said, John Beaupre, my buddy, he said, hey, would you be interested in doing something, advertising the book, talking about the book, and I think the book is a great book. So check it out below, links below, and if you do purchase that book, you get be able to join a special group that I'm a part of and John's a part of as well. And that's it, man. Joining me today on today's podcast is a legend of the Pot in Omaha world. This is a man who has been, a legend in poker for over 10 years now. He's a man who's done so much for the great game of Pot in Omaha in terms of putting out the content that people can learn and get better at, myself included. Shout out to me. A man who last time he was on the podcast didn't tell us. He forgot to mention about an upcoming poker site he's working on, Reddit One's Poker. Maybe that's not the name. I'm not sure yet. A man who's recently playing Poker After Dark, PLO edition this week, and just announced, goddamn, what this guy's doing, just announced a daily fantasy sports site as well, too, Draft Board. We're going to talk about that, too, and a man who apparently has been spending 85 hours in the week, 85 hours a week in the gym. If you saw his arms and you saw that polo shirt he was rocking this week. We're joined by Phil Galfond. What's up, Phil? Welcome back to the Poker Live podcast.
How's it going? Yeah, shout out to you.
I know, that's the intro, man. How's things going with you, Phil?
Good, busy, as you can guess. It was actually, I really enjoyed playing this week. I haven't played poker since summer, just because there's been so much, business work to do. I miss it, but yeah, can't complain overall. It's busy, but it's, what I asked for, what I got myself into.
Yeah, it was, we're kind of going to, I'm not sure which order we're talking about this in, but so you kind of randomly sprung this DFS site. I thought you were in the lab working on the poker site, but then the DFS site announcement comes up, and I didn't really know you as, a guy in the DFS world. So I think that surprised me, and I think that surprised some other people out there too.
Yeah, no, I'm not a guy in the DFS world, and I wrote a post on Run It Once in the forums there, which explains it a little better, probably just as well as I'm gonna explain it now. But basically, this has been in the works for a while, and it's the entire team, like Dan, who's my business partner, and like designers, developers, everybody that built Run It Once training, they all love DFS, all play DFS all the time, and like we always, since the beginning, would throw out business ideas and, go pretty far down a path and be like, oh, actually, let's, that's a little bit too much. Let's not do that. But they were really pushing hard for quite a while on DFS. And like, look, Phil, I think we have some good ideas. I think we can really do this. I think we can build a site that's better than these other sites. Like, let us try. And I was like, yeah, okay. And so actually, I've been focused mostly on the poker site and actually a fourth project that is still TBA. And really the rest of the team, like there's a small group of the team has been working on Draft Board, and they kind of bring me in for, big decisions and things like that. But for the most part, like, I don't know. I kind of like that I can't take credit for most of what they've done, because I can say I think they have done a really good job and, not seem quite as cocky.
Yeah, Phil Galfond and cocky are typically two words a lot of us have put together when we think about the words to describe yourself. So I can understand your hesitancy to want to come off as potentially cocky. So I think that makes sense. So But yeah, we'll talk more about the DFS site in a little bit. I kind of want to get into, man, I want to get into PLO After Dark, man. Come on.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the great games. So obviously, PLO After Dark went down this week. I was on Poker Go, 300, 600 popped in Omaha. So now, Phil, the feedback from Poker Twitter, from Reddit Poker, from 2+2, not necessarily the best feedback. And I know for myself watching, I personally enjoy it. I enjoy getting to see players like Ike Hollywood Haxton and yourself, players who I consider some of the best in the world, really how you approach different situations and the sizings you choose for these situations and different board textures. But I don't necessarily think this is the best appeal to a mainstream audience, especially people that don't really understand the game. And I feel like the lineup they put together this week maybe could have used an action player. And obviously every game probably needs an action player. Maybe it just couldn't happen. But I feel like the specific lineups that they had this week maybe didn't portray exactly what the great game of PLO is like when you maybe take out Brandon Adams and you put in, I don't know, Bill Perkins. You know what I'm saying? I feel like
Sure.
that's how a lot of PLO games that you find in casinos tend to play. They tend to play with a lot more action and not necessarily as technically fundamentally sound as maybe the game we got to see.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. I already been texting with some of the guys at Poker Go. I think it could have benefited from an ante, and 200, 400
Right.
ante, which similar size game, but in some ways makes people a little more comfortable to gamble and gives you more reason to play some pots. I also think it would benefit from a shot clock. I think almost all poker would. Maybe not quite as, maybe slightly more time than like the tournament. I don't know what they do, 40 seconds, 30 seconds. But,
Yeah, 30 seconds, yeah.
But I do think a shot clock would have been good. It's hard to say when the rules are the rules and there's no shot clock. It's hard to really fault anybody for taking the time they need to make the best decision they can, which is why I really like the shot clock, because it's fair for everybody. And, you can take as much as you want in that allotted time, but then so can everybody else. And I do think that the game suffered from being too slow, just like per minute, or minutes per hand, I guess. And I think that actually had a lot more to do with it than people might think. But yeah, I think an ante would help. I think a shot clock would help. And yeah, I don't know. The lineup, kind of continually changed. It was supposed to be more action initially. And then, each day it was different than we expected. And so, I mean, I feel for those guys trying to get a bunch of players to commit for a show, well in advance. And then poker players are going to poker player. And you lose some of them and have to scramble to find more. So I think they have a tough job. They're trying to fill, basically 3 days of high stakes poker every week. And it's just hard to find all the bodies and especially, enough action players that want to play in that game on that stage all the time. But I think that some structure changes would help a lot. And I don't know, I think it'd be good to get some, especially for PLO, but even in general, I just think 2 people in a booth is better than 1. I think Ali does a great job, like fantastic job, but I think he's got it's a really tall order to just be talking in there solo. And I think it would help a lot. It doesn't have to be a consistent person, but like guests. And I know, if they asked me to come in one day, I'd be happy to do it. I'm sure they could just, get some people to come in 1 off, 2 off. So I don't know. Those are my suggestions that I just thought of. I do really hope we get another shot and they give PLO another shot with or without me. Because obviously, as you know, their great game PLO was great.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, what I'm thinking about. I'm sitting here watching, we finally get a week. I've had to grind through all these 20, 30 big blind, tournaments, and there's no turn in rivers for like 3 weeks or something like that. And then finally PLO comes, I'm excited. And then, I'm still excited to watch it. I think it's just cool no matter what. But I just know, people out there, this is like their chance to see it. I've been talking about this damn game now every single day for like 3 years straight, and people haven't got to see it on that with players that they know and names that they know on this sort of level. So I feel like they see it and they're like, man, what's happening here? So you mentioned kind of the ante, which I think would be really cool. And also, somebody approached an idea on Twitter about maybe if it was 100, 200 with 100K stacks, because I do think, sometimes last night there's 50 big blind stacks. There's really no one for the most part. There wasn't really any battles where it's 250 plus big blinds deep. So maybe if there was, 300, 400, 500 big blinds deep with slightly smaller stakes, then we would actually see some monumental sort of hands come into play. But when it's 100 big blinds, for the most part, a lot of those hands play themselves. You flop a you flop a straight draw with a nut flush draw, and chance flops top set. You guys get it in 65-35. It kind of just plays itself. So whereas when it gets deeper, well, now those decisions become a little bit more interesting, and you have to decide if you really want to get it in with certain hands that are just perfectly fine to get in 100 big blinds deep.
Yeah. Yeah, no, deep stack play is really good. It's funny because even, I mean, I don't like short stack play, but like even if the 50 big blind play, the money gets in a lot. But yeah, 100, 150, it's kind of tame. But yeah, I actually could see people enjoying even 50 big blind play. I don't want to play 50 big blinds, but the money would get in a lot. And then, like you said, yeah, like lower blinds, because the stakes are pretty high. So yeah, lower blinds and similar stacks. I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
it'd be a lot of fun.
The stakes are very high, especially in like a lineup like that where no one's really gambling it up for the most part. I mean, I think maybe we saw Josh start to gamble it up a little bit towards the end of last night. He put on that prop idea, which I never really seen anybody play with that before, which was, what was it? It was 500 for if you win a hand with a Badoogie. So that's 4 cards, no suit. And then 1,500 from each person if you win a hand with trips in your hand. And then very first hand, he has Jack, Jack, Jack 4. And he put in a slightly large turn size bet there. So he got a pretty big pot brew in there, and you obviously made the backdoor full house draw, which is very underrated, by the way.
Yeah.
But you kind of had, I guess it wasn't hidden, but it's a little bit, I guess it wasn't that hidden, but you had the, you made the backdoor full house draw, you ended up taking that pot down. So right away, that action put on there, and that sort of made the game play a little different, which I thought was a really cool idea and something I haven't seen before in PLO games. Yeah,
it was a great idea. And, it was funny because I think the structure was wrong. I think they needed to be bigger prizes because there wasn't like a lot of incentive to deviate that much, but we all still kind of did, I think, more for pride reasons and for fun, because it's just fun to win one of those. But definitely, like, there were some times where I don't know. There was a time where like I check raised like on the flop with a Badoogie hand that had no business check raising, and like there was no way it was plus EV, even with the overlay. But then, like, once the pot's 15K and I'm trying to win 1,500, my better judgment kicked in and I just shut down. But yeah, I think that I think it'd be really fun with like 3 times the size on each of them.
That sounds like it could get pretty expensive, especially if it's 4,500 if you win with trips in your hand. I mean, you can't give up. You have trips in your hand in that spot. There's just so much extra money out there. And so, but yeah, you mentioned some of the commentators too. And I thought that was something I pointed out on Twitter as well, which is that, especially for Potman Omaha, where Nolan Hold'em, I think we're all familiar with Nolan Hold'em. We're familiar with how to play the game. We're familiar with the basics, ideas of it. Whereas at PLO, I just think people watch and they're like, what is happening? He's got aces. Why isn't he 3? Like they just don't really understand some very simple fundamental type of things. And when an interesting spot does come up, most people might even see or realize it's interesting because they just don't know enough about the game. So I think that is where, PLO specifically could use someone else in there, just kind of adding a little bit of context to certain situations and sort of certain what's happening. And one thing I pointed out yesterday was like Jungleman had at ace, jack 5, I think with, I think he had no suits from the big blind. He was facing an early position open. Hollywood called him the small blind, and he decided to 3-bet, and his 3-bet would leave him, if both players called, leave him with about a pot-sized bet left. So now he 3-bets there, and people might think, okay, I always got a 3-bet aces there, but that's just because that stack size happened to be that certain way. It happened to work out like that. Whereas if you're 100 big blinds, you probably don't want to 3-bet that hand. And I think just like some information like that, just add it in, would do a good job for people feeling like they kind of understand what's happening in the game.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with, a lot of players that are watching or fans that are watching are used to no limit. And they're like, this guy has a set, this guy has 2 pair. Why are they being such nits? Why isn't all the money going in? So yeah, that happens a lot in PLO, as we know.
For sure. But Phil, there's one specific hand I want to talk to you about here. And this is kind of a throwback to when I used to get into hands and then we talk about them and then we kind of like break them down. This is your bread and butter. So do you know which hand I'm going to be talking about with you here?
I think if it's a good one, then yeah.
It's like the best hand from the 3 days in my opinion. So you obviously know which hand.
So yeah, okay.
So I'll tell the hand to people and then we'll kind of go from there. So Hollywood Haxton, he raised it up early position. He had ace queen 10-3 double suited. Brandon Adams called in position with aces. You completed the big blind ace king 8-2 with the king 2 of hearts. Flop comes down jack of diamonds, 8 of hearts, 4 of hearts. So Hollywood had nut flush draw and the gut shot. You had second nut flush draw with that middle pair, and you had the backdoor diamond blocker if potentially comes that runner diamond. So Hollywood C bet a third pot, Brandon called, and then you called. So we can kind of take it from there.
Yeah. So it was Jack 8, 4. So queen on the turn, right?
Queen of diamonds on the turn. Yep. Jack of diamonds, 8 of hearts, 4 of hearts.
Yeah. So turn brings double flush draw on the straight. I check. Ike bets again. And Ike bet pretty small.
Yeah, you bet a third, bet 4,400 into 13,000.
Yeah. And so the thing about Ike is you're not going to get like a sizing read in terms of like, oh, he's betting small here, so he's weak. But what you'll get is, you know, he's got a well thought out strategy, and in order to bet small here, he's going to have a range that includes a lot of like, he'll include some very strong hands in it. But for whatever reason, he's determined on that turn, you know, I want to have a high betting frequency here with a lot of like mediocre hands. And I don't know his reasons behind it, but what's going to happen is, you know, he's not always going to have a weak hand, but he's going to include a range that's going to have a lot of those like decent but not great hands. That's just like what that bet size implies to me. Brandon folds, and my hand's pretty bad, and I can definitely profitably call. Nut gut shot, second nut flush draw, and the you know, backdoor nut flush draw blocker, but and the pair obviously. I definitely have a price to call, but with stacks the way they are, I have a pretty good like. I don't get re-raised on the turn often at all. I guess with the nuts I do reasonably often, but I don't think that's I don't think he's very likely to have the nuts. Obviously can, but like I think it's a very small part of his range. So I don't necessarily expect him to fold the turn very often, especially when it's that draw heavy. But if you look at the way that the board runs out, like on every brick, I just continue betting, and it's really likely that I win the pot, I think, in those scenarios. And then on hearts, I think depending on the heart, I can check or bet. And then on diamonds, depending on the diamond, I mean, I'm usually going to bet. If my hand's that weak, I'm going to continue betting. And then I think on board pairs, I tend to lose unless it's an 8, and then I can probably check call. But really, it just like my hand check calling, you know, I have more than enough equity. But when I check raise, even if I'm getting called a lot, I realize so much more than my equity, just because I think it plays out so well on rivers. And it so happens that, you know, he had my second nut flush draw covered. Right. So it was going to go pretty poorly for me on those heart rivers. I was excited for every river, but it looks like I got the one that I needed. And the 9 of diamonds river is especially good just because it leaves me with so few bluffs. Because let's say I check raise with a similar hand, but, you know, instead of like ace king 8 deuce, like ace king 8 or like ace king 8 10 or ace 10 8 deuce. So I end up with a straight. There's just so many potential bluffs that I have a high diamond blocker that I end up with a straight with, that just a really, really profitable bluff spot. It's really hard for me to have enough bluffs. And actually, when he started thinking, I said this to him after, but he started thinking I was getting mad. I was like, why are you even thinking I can't have any bluffs here? Like, unless you have 3 diamonds in your hand, I don't know. And he thought a little bit with straight. I guess it's a big pot, so he wanted to think. But yeah, I mean, it was a perfect river for me to follow through on and make me look good.
Yeah, that's what he was thinking for so long there. So you said, so the pot was 6,000 on the river. I think me and Jane Anna's were streaming during it. We're kind of wondering what size you're going to go with. So when you're thinking about going with pot there compared to 2/3 pots, you end up betting 44,000 or 46,000 rather. You know, how do you think it differs that much in terms of between 46 and between 66? What do you think differences are between choosing the sizes there?
To be honest, I think that I don't think I'm a sizing expert. I think it's one of the weaker points in my game. And I tend to, it might just be habit. Like I've had kind of similar sizings for the last 10 years and I'm just used to them. And I think that when you adjust your sizings, I mean, at this point, I probably just should because you know, it's been long enough. But when you adjust your sizings, you have to, especially when you've played so much and you have so much kind of intuition built into your game, if you adjust your sizings, people are going to play back differently than you're used to. And a lot of those kind of like that experience not necessarily goes out the window, but becomes less effective. And I think that a lot of my game is based on experience and I guess intuition is the right word, but really just pattern recognition, observation over so many years. And so I am a little hesitant to change my sizings. In that spot, I do like to, I mean, I want to rep more than just the nuts. I can still pot without the nut flush draw. I can pot with other flushes, but I tend to prefer smaller sizing and leaving, and certainly would do that with the nuts as well. I like kind of leaving him a little bit more room to shove, like not with my particular hand, but with my range. But no, I definitely am not going to sit here and say that, you know, that was the proper river sizing. I don't really know, and I don't know how much of a difference it makes in that spot in particular. In a spot where I'm repping nuts or nothing, then I need to be potting almost always. But that's not one of those cases, I think.
Yeah, I feel like from watching a lot of videos, you know, I think in your videos you always talk about, it seems like when you end up showing up with a nut flush blocker, you have the nut flush, it seems like in a lot of spots like that, you do end up potting. But I guess the situation is different in this spot because you do check raise and you can have other hands besides. But I was thinking about what other hands could you really have there besides the nut flush there? Maybe the king high flush, I guess, but would you bet the 10 high flush that size? Probably, maybe, I'm not really sure. So I guess that's kind of what it comes down to is, do you have the king? Would you bet the king high flush that size or not?
I think that I would, and I think I probably against Ike would check though with weaker flushes than the king high flush, just because I like to give him an opportunity to bluff. Like he's some people are going to way under bluff that spot, not turn enough made hands into bluffs, but he will turn enough, you know, decent hands into bluffs, try to bluff me off of a chop or you know, bluff with a set, which you certainly should if you have any kind of diamond blocker, but a lot of people wouldn't. So yeah, I might only be betting nuts and second nuts, and maybe I should go bigger. Definitely, you know, and it differs a lot from a spot where, let's say, flop is 3 diamonds and I bet 3 times,
right,
and I'm not betting the 10 high flush pretty much, unless I'm like, you know, third potting the whole way. So yeah, in this spot, there's only, you know, one bet. Once the diamond hits, there's only one bet goes in. So I don't think I need to, restrict it to nuts only.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something which I found, you know, I kind of relate to, which you talk about intuition. A lot of it's based on pattern recognition, the way that you approach PLO or the way that you play. And I think it was like that for a long time in Nolan and Hold'em, but now it's sort of going away from that. I mean, some people I talk to still do approach the game that way, but a lot of people now approach it from, you know, pile solver way, and from, you know, it's very much less intuition. It's less of that kind of stuff. It's more of just this other based. And I mean, I know with PLO, there's programs out there now. It's starting to, you know, there's starting to be more things out there like that. But do you ever feel like it'll really go away from being a game that where intuition and pattern recognition and just having so much experience and playing different spots and choosing different sizes and just playing so much? Do you ever feel like that part, you know, the numbers part might overtake that part? And yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking about lately, is if that will happen. And it seems unlikely, but obviously, you know, I'm sure it does at some point in time.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, it's definitely something I'm worried about, not only, you know, for my own sake as a poker player, but just for the sake of poker. I think it's less fun. Nothing wrong with it. I just think it's, you know, less fun. I don't know. I mean, I think what needs to happen is there needs to continue to be new forms of poker, new variants. And with that happening in live poker, you know, it's never going to become purely technical. I think there's just too much other stuff going on, whether it be live reads or, you know, emotions. People are still people, even at high levels. And so, no, I don't think poker as a whole is ever going to be, you know, that's not going to totally go away, but it's definitely becoming less and less valuable. And, you know, for players like me, it's not good.
Yeah. I thought playing with Ike Hollywood Haxton, just from watching him play, it seems like he did a great job of, you mentioned his sizes. He chooses all these different sizes. He does the third pot. He did, you know, the 7th pot, a couple 3-bet pots there, full pots it, 2/3 pots it. It seems like he does a great job of just mixing up his sizes. And it seems like it'd be tough to be able to really get a handle on what he's doing unless you played a ton with him. And even then, I'm sure he's going to switch up his strategies as well, knowing that, you know, what you probably know what you think. So it kind of seems like he was definitely one of the toughest players in that game. And I think the last day you had the pleasure to be out of position against him. So I can't imagine that's the most fun thing.
No, you know, actually, I think that I have a lot of trouble with players like him, but for like kind of different reasons than you were saying. He does mix up his sizing, but I don't think it's so much like a leveling thing where, you know, he thinks you're going to react a certain way, so he picks his sizing, and then once he thinks you're catching on, he switches it. I think he's got a game plan, and he's prepared, and that's where I kind of can't make reads. Whereas if somebody's in the moment and trying to level me, I'm, unless it's like Ivy or Victor, then great, try to level. I'm excited. Like that's the fun poker, and it's still fun with them. They're just better than me, so it doesn't work out. But yeah, I think he doesn't try to level me. I think he has a strategy, and unfortunately, his strategy is much more well thought out than my strategy or my ability to counter it. And so I do have to kind of. I was thinking the other day while we were playing, I don't know, whatever. I don't remember the spot at all, but I 3-bet, and then I'm thinking on the flop, how much should I bet? And I just think like Ike would definitely know how much he's betting here, and I never know. I just look at the board, I look at my stack, and I think a little bit, and then I just bet. And then it's like, man, I guess I should know. Maybe one day I will.
Do you feel like that's because you've been focusing on so many other things? I remember I saw you before day one started with the Aria, and I think I asked you been playing much PLO, and you said, I haven't really been playing much PLO. And obviously you got a ton of experience. You played a ton of hands. You've made, hundreds of videos out there. So where you've really got in depth into your game, into your thought process. But obviously when you're doing these other things and you're trying to really get better at something else, you're going to start to decrease your skill level in other areas. And with PLO, you've kind of been off and on these past couple of years now. And I think, I guess that's probably what happens is when you do go off and on, you're just not as sharp in some spots. And whereas if you're in your rhythm, if you're in the zone, you're playing every day, you're probably going to have a pretty good understanding of exactly what you're going to go with and why. But right now, it's just that's not really been what you've been doing lately.
Yeah. I've never had like a very structured game plan anyways, but it's definitely been, I haven't been playing much poker. I played like a month and a half over the summer, some tournaments and some big bet mix. And then otherwise, like this whole year, I basically haven't played. I've been working on the business. So there's a lot of rust there. I still, every time I go back and play, I'm like, is this the time that I'm going to be, left in the dust and they're all going to pass me by? And it still hasn't happened yet. But it's definitely, certainly over the last, couple of years, especially just hopping into the high stakes online games, there was a while where, with the top players, I would say, is he better than me? Am I better than him? I don't really know. But like, when I get in there now, I know that I'm not top tier, and it's not fun. It's a little frustrating, but it's just kind of I enjoy what I'm doing with business, and I enjoy playing poker when I can. And I would love to be able to do both full time, but it's kind of the path I chose right now. I still think, I haven't been, I'm not rusty enough that if I, a year from now, wanted to dedicate myself again, kind of fully to poker, that I, couldn't catch back up. But I think it'd make me a little sad if I got to a point where I couldn't, or decided I couldn't, or decided I didn't want to.
Yeah, that's always an interesting thought to have, is that as you get more into business, and then obviously your ability to still be good at poker, that starts to decrease. And then it's like, well, at what point in time do you decide, well, if you're going to rededicate yourself, and like, how do you do that? Because the better you get at business, the more successful your business is going to be. The more time you're probably going to need to spend on your business, the less time you're really going to have to put towards poker. And I know with you, you really pride yourself on, when you teach PLO, when you make PLO videos, you pride yourself on being great at the game and being a great teacher and being up to date on what's happening. So, and I feel like you're still going to want to do that for the foreseeable future. But obviously there could come a point where you're just so focused on business and it's doing well that, you might lose it a little bit. And I don't know, I feel like at that point in time, when I think about, something like that maybe happen, it just seems like kind of crazy, because I've just spent so much of my life playing poker, and especially Pot Lenoir. And for yourself, you've been playing poker so long that even idea of you just like, fuck, okay, is this like, maybe it never gets to that point where, you feel that way and can always compete in a live setting. But obviously online, there could be a point where you're like, man, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's, it's like the only thing, I guess, before business, but it's the only thing I've really like dedicated myself to learning. It's been, my entire adult life. And it's tough to, I'm not giving it up yet. I don't want to give it up at all, but I'm definitely not giving it up. But it's tough to give up, or even to kind of shy away from something that you spent so long working on, working hard on. And also, it's fun to do something that you're good at. and becomes less fun when you're not as good. So I still, playing this week actually has made me want to play a little bit more. Gonna figure out logistically how I can squeeze it in, but there's definitely some time for me to play a little bit more. But the problem is when I spend, I'm even like being a grown up now. I'm waking up at 8:30 a.m. and because like I have guys in Malta, I have to get at meetings because 8:30 is 5:30 for them. So yeah, I'm like, it's hard to go from a work day, like a work week, to go playing a couple days, especially live, but anywhere. Just I think it's tough dealing with like a work stress and then going to play a super short sample of high stakes poker, and then like not being used to the variance the way you are when you're playing day in, day out. It's pretty tough emotionally, and I think like you have to be careful about tilting, either like work tilt or poker tilt, and not giving your best performance. So I think that logistically I could fit more of it in, but I need to work on, not that I've had like major tilting issues, or that I've had a ton of problems with it, but I definitely foresee it being a problem. So yeah, I need to figure out how to get the right amount of focus and level-headedness to do both.
So I guess we'll talk about the business. We'll talk about Run It Once Poker. Obviously, this was announced last August, September.
We don't need to put a date to it, just
okay, but it kind of matters a little bit too. So obviously, it was launched last year, and you obviously had a pretty ambitious date for when it potentially launched. There's been a lot of discussion over that time. We've seen you make some blog posts and you talk about it a little bit, but where does things stand right now with Run It Once Poker and when we might see that on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned before, we announced because we've kind of felt like we had to. We were recruiting a lot of positions. We certainly thought we were going to be launching, like I think I said Q1 of this year, but they were telling me like January 1st. And I was like, I'm not saying January 1st. I'll say Q1. I'm like, okay. And and we were like, well, we have to hire all these staff, and people don't just want to, submit to job postings for anonymous poker site yet to come move to Malta and work for. So we were like, okay, I guess we'll make an announcement. And Run It Once training we never announced, draft board we never announced, and it's the way that I prefer it. But we got ourselves into the situation we are now, where we did announce, and it's very delayed. And like I've said, if I know with pretty good confidence that it's coming soon, then I'll definitely let people know. And I think that point will be when we're in beta, and probably need, I guess I don't know how much, maybe a couple months of beta and then ready to go live. So, I can say that we're not in beta. It's probably not coming out in a couple months, but beyond that, it's just from past experience, I don't know what to believe. And I don't want, like, I understand it's really difficult for them to estimate, and they're doing the best they can for sure. They're working really hard, but there are just so many unpredictable things that can come up. And yeah, basically, when they're telling me their best guess, but I feel like when I'm telling the poker world, I should be like telling them the truth. And I feel like until I can tell them the truth, I don't want to have a repeat of what would happen. So, we're still working on it hard. We've, in terms of everything besides development, we're good to go. And we've, we haven't for a while added new, we've got all our ideas mapped out, how everything should work. At least, for launch, obviously, I think it's important to keep changing, and perhaps, if it takes really long, the poker world will change and we'll need to adapt accordingly. But yeah, it's just development, and it's tough because I'm not a developer. I'm not a project manager. I'm a poker player. And so it's really like, I can't fully comprehend. Like, they can tell me this will be done then. They can tell me what the problem is, but
Yeah, that's got to be somewhere between very frustrating and extremely frustrating for somebody like yourself, who, I feel like you've had a very good understanding and handle on poker for many years, and then you go to this other thing that is poker, but at the same time it's not, and really nothing you can do about it in a lot of ways. And a lot of it, your name's attached to it. Your name is, people see it, people hear about it. But I think for the most part, when this does happen, no matter what, people now, people speculate, when's it going to come, never going to come, whatever. I don't think it's really going to matter too much, because if the site comes out, the site's good, the actual what it is good, and people enjoy it, and it's a great product. I don't think it's going to matter. I think people are going to go to it, try it out, play on it. So for the most part, whether it takes 5 months, 6 months, a year, I feel like you're going to have the full support of the poker community, just because, obviously with Poker Stars now, and there are some other sites, Party Poker, those sites are doing some new things to bring back players. They're not just trying to, kick players in the nuts and kick them out the door if they're winning any money. So that's good to see.
It's great.
But I feel like as long as it's a good product, man, people are going to show up, they're going to play, they're going to support it. And at least that's what I think. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm sure some people out there, and I'm sure, I know they have differing opinions on that, but that's how I kind of see the situation.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think so too. And I think that, that's one thing we've struggled with a lot is, do we hurry up and release a product that's not up to our standards because it's taking so long, and because we need to start acquiring customers, start accumulating revenue. But I do feel like it's not entirely true, but sort of, I feel like we get that one shot when we launch, and everybody's going to give us a try and be rooting for us. And if we come out with something disappointing, I don't know if we'll get that kind of second chance. So unfortunately, that means we have to wait a little bit. We have to be a little bit more, perfectionists than might be wise in other businesses, let's say, where you might just want to come out with something that's not quite ready and, tweak it as you go. I think for what we're doing here, it has to be polished. And so, yeah, I think that's what we're going to do, is we're going to, keep going till we have it the way that we want it.
So are you guys going to have any chests out there? Poker Stars recently announced the chest, and everybody out there loves these chests. You got some chest in there, Phil? Is that on the
it's
the
entirely
there?
It's entirely chest based. It's just opening chests, actually.
Oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to play it then. So, but no, I think for the site, and if people keep going back to admission, man, they're going to go to Phil's site. I don't know. I don't see how that's not possible, because you have some of these sites out there, and their software is not very good, and ACR is getting DDoS, whatever it's called, 7 times a week or something like that. It seems like people still go back and play there, and keep going back and playing, and keep going back and playing. So I don't know, man. It seems like and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens, because I feel like the name that you carry and the network that you have in terms of friends that support you and other people that I feel like that right there is enough to really spread the word throughout the poker community. And it seems like other people kind of don't agree with that, and they say it's just going to be all regulars, like no fun players are going to go there, all this stuff like that, action to drive action on the site. And kind of, how do you think about that in terms of, you think it'll be all regs, or do you feel like you have something in place to make it a mixture where, there's all sorts of types of players playing there?
I think, yeah, that's been, that's kind of one of the first things that we thought through a lot before we even started the project, because obviously it's a big concern is, as much as everybody wants to support us, if they show up and the games are terrible, then they're probably not going to continue to support us. So I think, obviously, I think that if all goes according to plan, the games will be decent and get better as time goes on, and we can get the word out more and more. But I do think, I think that if you could survey like the people watching your podcast, and they would just give you honest answers about, their playing habits and things like that, the poker community, and even like the tight-knit poker community, it's not all crushers, it's not all pros. And I think that...
What? No, you sure? You're telling me like the 30,000 people that might watch this video, you're telling me they're not all crushing? Oh, I find that hard to believe, man. These guys are all winning players. I don't know about the audience you got, Phil. My audience is winning players. We got a lot of winners in here right now. So
okay,
these guys are all plus BB per 100 players.
All right, then I apologize. But a lot of people love poker, and the reach of 2+2, of Run It Once, of Joe Ingram, like the reach of that is not, it goes well beyond, professional poker players, and even semi-professionals. And I think that the word, obviously we're going to market, but we're not going to market like Poker Stars can market. But the word will get out further than I think people are assuming, even without that.
Yeah, I think so too. It's gonna be interesting to kind of see how some of the poker community reacts that's sponsored by other sites that are very popular names, because obviously Run It Once, the poker site is gonna be, I'm assuming it's like, or actually I don't know, will it have, because recently Jason Mo put on Twitter, I don't know how they have the domain Run It Once Poker, so I've always speculated that might be the name for the site. I don't really know what the name of the site's gonna be, but is it gonna be associated with Run It Once, the training site? Are those two good things gonna kind of come hand in hand in a lot of ways?
Um, I mean, I don't know if there are any cons to saying the domain we're using, but I just in case won't say it. But yeah, they'll both be Run It Once. It'll be on a different domain.
Okay.
But no, obviously we're gonna tell people about it. We're gonna tell people at Run It Once training about Run It Once Poker, and I think they're gonna find out about it anyways. But and we're gonna use the same brand name. But yeah, I think that yeah, we'll leverage the Run It Once brand, and I do think that one thing that's a big problem with new poker sites popping up, not that there are a ton of them lately, but is just trust in the poker site by the community. And I think that that's one thing that the Run It Once brand has that will help a lot in getting those people that are on the fence, like, yeah, I'd love to try a new site. Oh, that looks cool, but what happened with site X, Y, and Z, and I'm just not going to put my $100 on there, not going to put my 10K on there, whatever it is. So I think that'll go a long way, and I hope what happens is people will play on it and like it and talk about it, and then that initial group, which as we talked about probably reaches just outside of crushers, that'll grow from there. In addition to just targeted marketing that we'll do ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think about because I know one thing from talking to my buddy Doug a lot, Doug Polk. Obviously, Doug's got Upswing Poker. You guys got Run It Once. I know that while they're different in some ways, they also are competitors too. So I think about someone like Doug, who's probably one of the biggest influencers in the poker space right now. If it's like something where Run It Once Poker is kind of Run It Once, I feel like maybe Doug might be hesitant to kind of put that out there and promote that, because in a way he's kind of promoting competition against the brand that he has. So that's kind of, I think, and then obviously Dan Negreanu, who knows what he's going to do about it. He's with Poker Stars. So you kind of have some of these really big influencers in the space right now, and a lot of even the big streamers are associated with Poker Stars too. So I kind of just wonder how that'll work, and if they'll try it, or kind of what that's going to look like or be like.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. And probably in some ways in those ways we could benefit from branding it slightly differently. But I think overall it'll be good for us. I do think, I think that like you mentioned, Party Poker is doing some things that are great for the players. I'm going to be in competition with Party Poker, but happy to say that they're doing a great job. And I do think that people that care about poker as a whole, and even if you have a business that's direct competitor or slightly a competitor to something, things that are good for poker as a whole are good for you. And like I obviously I loved going to play on Poker After Dark, but I like what Poker Go is doing. I've told people to sign up for Poker Go. I don't get anything for that. They're not a competitor, but also just I think that what they're doing is good for poker, and I think other people I think that if we do our job and do what people are hoping that we do and expecting us to do, and we can help make just like the online poker world as a whole a little bit better, then I do think people will be willing to spread the word. Maybe not, just like blast us on every podcast and every video that they do for free, but I do think people will be willing to help.
I guess one thing I'm thinking about is what's you have the idea what the rake might look like at those micro stakes, because I feel like, especially for Potman Omaha, that's what I think about in terms of people being able to move up the ladder and really get a start. And I feel like that was something that was thought about, back in the day, but now it seems like that rake there is just super high. So I know that's one big question a lot of PLO community has about what the rake might be like at those lower stakes.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're obviously very rake conscious, and I haven't done it myself, but we've done a lot of modeling based on the data that we can have. I do think that we'll be looking to constantly adjust rake as we get more data, because you can't really get the kind of data that there's no replacement for being the actual site, and getting all the data there. But we have done a lot of work with what we can, and we definitely we talked about it, and like nobody wants to they don't want me to make a promise that every game will always be beatable, but we will definitely strive to make every game beatable if there's like not a good reason that we can't somehow. And obviously your definition of beatable might vary, like but yeah, it's definitely a concern. And I think that, you know, setting rake has a lot to do with game structure, obviously achievable win rates, and the thing about achievable win rates has to do with your player pool. And so if we come out and our games are a lot tougher than other sites, we're going to have to probably adjust by lowering rake. If our games are, you know, magically a lot softer, we might be able to raise rake without making games unbeatable. But I mean, I think that it'll be more of the former than the latter, if anything. But yeah, like beatable, what defines a beatable game is always changing as games get tougher, structures change, whatever it may be. But to answer your question, like I don't have our, they might even be set actually, the rake rates that we'll launch with, but I don't know them right now. But I probably should. Like there's a lot of stuff that I'd be happy to talk about, but it's just so soon that then people start talking about it, and any buzz we get from that will be dead.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But definitely, like in the months and weeks leading up to launch, we'll be very open and talking about things like that, talking about the game structures and game offerings and different features that we have, and rake and all policies, etc. But yeah, we're definitely very conscious of that, and it is tough. You know, like I've looked at, there are a lot of costs, especially like transaction fees are really rough. And so there definitely can be situations where if based on what happens when a player deposits, like how quickly that deposit just like goes into, so like a fish deposit plays you heads up, and he loses all his money, pays 50 cents in rake. We're just gonna get crushed by fees. And so like it's actually like it all works together, like game structure and player pool, like makeup, and then the rake. And so I do think it should be a fluid thing, and that's what we're going to try to do, and certainly we're going to be conscious of it, and like that's one of the main things people are expecting of us, is to have fair rake for everybody. And so we're very aware and very conscious about it.
So what do you guys approach, or where do you guys stand on the bot situation? Because I mean, I think if playing on a site like ACR, I can confidently say they're I mean, I don't know if I put my life on it, but I'm pretty close that there are definitely bots playing, especially in PLO. I imagine No Limit, but obviously there's been bots proven out there to be playing on PokerStars, and you know, there's a suspected bot playing High Stakes No Limit right now on PokerStars. Shout out to that guy, what's his name, Oberau or something like that. You know, this is all allegedly, but yeah. What do you guys stand from that standpoint? Because obviously it seems like that tech and that ability is only going to keep being more of a threat, more of a threat, more of a threat.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna. I mean, the rule is no bots. Obviously, enforcing that is super important, and I think a big part about enforcing, obviously for bots specifically, a big part of the enforcement is technical. If not, you know, technical in terms of what you can detect on a computer, technical in terms of analyzing statistics, play habits, things like that. And it's tough because I think we're going to do a good job of it, but I would also I would be surprised if PokerStars is not, you know, trying pretty hard. Maybe they're not, but I would expect that they're trying pretty hard, as are the other guys. So it's definitely a problem. I think that one thing that's super important is that, you know, punishments have to be pretty harsh, because otherwise, like, there's because you're never going to catch 100%. And so if you're catching, let's say 20%, and you just tell them to stop once you catch them, then obviously there's no incentive for them not to try. So there needs to be, harsh punishments when you are caught, which I think a lot of the sites have. And then really it comes down to two things. It's like, one is detection in all the ways that you can detect, and two is kind of prevention, but more just making botting less profitable, which is it's not necessarily easy, but there are some ideas that we have specifically for higher stakes games, but for all that I think would do a lot to prevent botting. Probably those ideas won't be quite ready even at launch. They'll take a few more months. But yeah, one of my ideas that I'm really excited about, it has to do with higher stakes games, and hopefully we'll do a lot. We'll go a long way in preventing botting.
Well, I sure hope so, because obviously that's something I always think about. Anytime I see, I'm playing at a table, a 2-4 table on there, 3-6, and there's four or five Eastern European accounts from Belarus on there, man. And you never see them chat. They all limping under the. I'm like, man, I don't know. It's just like, even if they're not, it's just the fact you have to worry about it out there. It's tough, man. And I imagine it drives a lot of players away. It drives a lot of people away. So, I think that's going to be something that's only going to keep getting more and more of a concern going forward. And now I'd have to imagine that your understanding of poker at such a high level, your understanding of how the ecosystem works, of how actual players work, of just those dynamics really, really matters. Because when you're looking at something and when someone's saying, hey, we see this, well, you like, your understanding is just so much different than someone who plays a little bit, or even like a casual person or whatever, which I imagine and I know these are the kind of people that are in charge of some of these things at these sites. These are the detectors. They haven't really played that much poker. They don't really know exactly why this is weird or what this is. They don't know. They can't really know. So I think you have a pretty big edge there. And I guess it seems like a lot of responsibility might fall on your shoulders from that department too. And I wonder how savvy is the kind of team you put around you in terms of just having that actual poker play experience, which I think matters a ton and differs a ton from poker business experience.
Yeah, no, for sure. We have a couple guys over there, not including myself, that are, very good poker players. We have several that play poker and, can play pretty well. And definitely in that area, we have people with fraud experience, but I do think I'll have to be very involved, and everybody that's, especially skilled at poker over there needs to be very involved, because in addition to, we'll do what we can, obviously, with like, in terms of setting up, things that'll flag different accounts and tell us when to look deeper into something. But once it is time to look deeper into those things, then it's definitely going to help to have more expert opinions. And also, even if we get to a point where we're seeing these problems and can't figure it out, I know a lot of people I can ask for help, get some consultants and get in there. And like, I do think it'll be a big advantage to have poker understanding and be part of the poker community.
Yeah, I know, like there's a lot of talk of these cryptocurrency sites. I saw Brian Rast and Dan Coleman, I think, are involved with something called Virtue Poker. I don't really know much about that. But I know it seems like these obviously cryptocurrency now, I'm surprised, and now I know it's going to start, so I'm sad now, but people mention cryptocurrency. Everyone's obsessed with cryptocurrency, and I look on Twitter, everyone's got cryptocurrency person in their bio now. A couple months ago, they were poker players. So the cryptocurrency poker sites are starting up. I don't know if those will ever truly be able to be successful on a grand scale, just because of the nature of cryptocurrency and the nature of, who's really running these sites and how it works. And some people just really don't understand them. How much do you think about that? Or are you going to have an element of cryptocurrency involved in terms of people depositing on there? Or just, how do you feel like you'll be associated with crypto?
Yeah, we're gonna try very hard to allow cryptocurrency deposits. Right now, like the last answer we got from the regulators is that we cannot, but you can usually, as I understand it, you can kind of push back on some things and perhaps get an exception made. I do think it's going to be very helpful to take deposits there. I think, I'm not, I have a little bit of understanding of cryptocurrency, but I'm far from an expert. From what I can tell, I do think, leveraging blockchain technology, I think one day that will be a better way to run a poker site. I don't think we're very close just yet. And I think that, I mean, from the conversations I've had with our developers, it's not, if one day we realized that it was becoming time, you know, that was probably the better way to go. It is something that we could, you know, take our interface, take a lot of our same stuff and build in a backend, you know, built on the blockchain, and switch over, either have a sister site or just transition everything over to be run that way. And I do think that, like, I do believe that there are a lot of good reasons why that technology would be a good solution for poker. But I think, you know, in addition to just the fact that the technology is still very young, if you want to get recreational players and just like even a number of pros, like, it's just not going to be understood and trusted enough soon, to the point, especially, you know, if all your deposits are in cryptocurrency, the majority of the world doesn't know how to buy any. And I just think that I think we're still a ways out. I think it's great that these sites are starting to work on the technology, because that's to start somewhere. And they're going to learn a lot of things as they go. And perhaps, you know, these guys getting in the door right now, when it is time, we'll have a, you know, big leg up on us and PokerStars and whoever else wants to try to get into it later. But yeah, no, we've done some thinking about it and have decided it's not time yet, at least for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how it all develops out there. I don't know too much about some of these new sites and these projects out there, but I don't know. Like I mentioned earlier, I think Party Poker One specifically, they've been, and this is an idea. Like I'm fucking baffled. Honestly, I'm fucking baffled. I'm fucking stunned that it took this long. Party Poker sets up an organized game, a high stakes PLO game. Like, all right, these guys are gonna play. These are the only guys in the game. It's like, how has this not been done in the past, like, some year? Like, I mean, it's stunning how just ideas like this that seem like kind of, oh, that makes a lot of sense, just don't go down and don't happen. And man, I don't know. I'm just excited for that idea. Like, this is, I don't know if that shows that I'm like, I don't know, I'm like starving for something like that. But I mean, can we expect ideas like that? They're setting up this game. Yeah, Isildur playing the game. You got Sam in the game. Loose Leon mixing up in there. Aussie Matt's mixing up in there. And I feel like just that overall is just so good for the game, for action, for high stakes. And you obviously know how much fun it is to rail those high stakes games, to watch action like that. And I mean, I don't know, how much do you feel like that'll be an element of the site in terms of bringing in new players and attracting them to what's happening on the site and to paying attention to the site?
Yeah, I think it actually, that depends a lot on what kind of decision we make regarding when our site is ready to launch, because like I mentioned, I have some ideas for high stakes games, kind of in two phases. So phase 0 is no high stakes games. Phase 1 is high stakes games with some ideas that I have, and phase 2 is kind of some more ideas that make it more railable. And which phase we launch with is going to depend on how quickly we can develop it. So eventually, it's something that's very important to me, but it's also possible that at the time that we do launch, there'll be no high stakes games, and we'll add it later. It's just kind of how fast we can do it.
When we say no high stakes games, Phil, what are we saying here? No, what are we considering high stakes?
I mean,
oh no.
We're not talking years until we add high stakes games. But if we were to launch with like the phase 0, like without the high stakes innovations and the high stakes built in, it would be maybe no 25-50.
Okay.
Temporarily.
That's not too. I mean, listen, I was prepared for anything. I'm prepared for you to say high stakes 2-4. So I mean, I was kind of sitting there. Okay. All right. Okay. That's
we have some ideas that, like, it's funny. So we have some ideas that some of my favorite ideas had to do with high stakes games, and obviously they're important to me because I relate to all the high stakes players. But I don't know. We've been headed down I don't know. Don't want to get too much in development, but we were headed down a path that was basically, we had made a decision like, look, we're the path that we're going down, we're going to have to build a pretty minimal product, and it's going to be a long time after that before we can add these other ideas. And potentially that idea got put way on the back burner. And recently we've been considering some other options and considering them heavily that would allow us to have more flexibility to add something like that sooner. So I'm excited about that once again. But sooner meaning sooner than it was going to be, still not next month.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the option seem maybe be that I'm just having some hope here. The option, maybe an invitational game, maybe like a special game for certain players to get there and to play and kind of bring those names to the site. And because I mean, those names bring people to the site. You watch an Isidore play, you watch a Tom Dwan play. I mean, hopefully Tom Dwan will show up, no shots or anything like that. But you know, you bring Jungle Man to the game. You know, now you got people wanting to watch. You got people wanting to tune in. You got people wanting to see what's happening. So I think like that is just such a I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I wouldn't have downloaded the Party Poker client. I don't know, maybe ever again, to be honest with you, unless they had these specific games. So, and it seems like that's kind of what you want. Yeah.
No, I think I think you can launch a successful site without them, but I really would like them to be a part of our site. Yeah. And they will be one day. But I really like it to be sooner than later.
All right, we got a good question from Goran Forsberg in the chat. By the way, guys, we're getting a lot of good comments. We're getting some weird comments, but that's cool. I know you guys are a little weird sometimes. He says, does not, kind of worded wrong, do not Phil think that the high stakes players get scared to play there when himself and the other very good poker players working there will see all the hands that high stakes guys play in there? Which seems like a very fair question.
From what I know, I'm not allowed to play on the site, so I won't be playing.
But you can see that. You can still see the hands, though. You can see what's happening.
I guess. I mean, definitely people in the company can see the hands. I could probably, haven't thought about it. I could restrict my access if that's something that they're worried about somehow. I mean, at some point they have to trust me that the guy working for me, I'm not telling him, hey, show me those hands anyways. But if it's something people are bothered by, I'm happy to. I guess I don't know how much I could do. I'm happy to promise that I won't look at them. I will sign something. I don't know. But yeah, I'm happy not to look at them. But yeah, I can't play. I'd like to be able to play, but yeah, no go.
Can you play in a special invitational game, Phil? That option?
I don't know. I should look into that because then, yeah, if I'm playing an invitational game where anybody that joins it, like we've set it up and they've said, I'm good, I'm okay with playing the owner of the site. Then maybe there's a way, but yeah, I haven't thought about that.
Listen, Phil, I'll happily take you 1v1, man. I'll have, let's play, man. I'm stream it. Let's go. I don't care. You own the site. It's cool, man. You bring the dream machine. You bring whatever you got. You bring the tools that you got. Get security back there ready to hit the button. Like that dragon thing where the dragon's back there. You get them, man. I don't care, Phil. You're going to need it. I'm ready.
All right.
I'm ready. Let's go, man. I'm ready. Just got one player, man. You got one player out there ready to play. So yeah, I'm ready. Bang, bang. You guys are right. Bang, bang, man. I'm coming for Phil on the site, man. Trying to bust him on his own site.
You should get into the party poker games.
Apparently, I don't know, man. We'll see. Maybe we'll see. I think that could be an option. I mean, listen, it's a tough lineup. It's a tough game, Phil. I've seen the lineup. Some of the players, they make some questionable plays, and but I'm ready to compete. I'm ready to compete, Phil. So definitely ready to try it out. CG's in the chat. CG says, "Will there be heads up tables?" Yeah. What do you guys stand on the heads up situation? Obviously now, the heads up, how it is now. Not the best ecosystem kind of thing like that. So,
man, it's a good question. This falls under the category of things that I want to these are the decisions. We made a lot of them that I feel like I want to talk about as it gets closer.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I just say that you can just say that. Like, I know a lot of these things you do want to, and I mean, even if you talk about them now, I feel like they'll still be brought up down the road too, no matter what happens. So,
and I guess also we could change our minds, but yeah, I'm gonna pass on the question and talk about it when we get a little closer.
Cool. Yeah, I think that sounds good. I mean, I don't think anyone's getting, I don't think anyone's going to be upset. Like, oh, Phil didn't talk about the heads up tape. You know what I mean? Like, I think people out there understand, and especially when we see what happened last time when you announced the site, and then, I know from talking, you didn't necessarily want to announce the site that early, but, thought it'd be good. And then people out there are saying things and leaving comments and shit like that. And, I don't think anyone wants their brand to be associated with something like that, especially for something this big and this important. So, I can understand not wanting to bring up certain things or get into certain things.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, I felt really bad about announcing as early as we did and not producing. And I feel like you know, with the information I had, I did the best I could, but I still almost feel like it's a lie that I told. And so I'm really like, I just don't want to say something that I don't know, you know?
Mm-hmm. Dave says, oh, actually, Dave, I know the answer to this question. Will this site run tournaments? No, guys, this is going to be no tournaments on the site. Only pot limit. No. Oh, well, no, probably tournament. Never mind. We know everybody loves tournaments. Of course there's going to be, I'm sure. Come on. Yeah. I'm sure you guys maybe have something planned. You know what? We've kind of seen what works out there with W Coop, with Scoop, with Power Fest and Jack. I don't really know the names for these things, but we've seen those things work out extremely well. So I'm sure that seems like it's a standard thing to have included in the plan.
Yeah, we have a pretty unique tournament idea too. It's also another thing that probably our tournament idea is probably the largest task to develop compared to the others. Like I think actually the high stakes one's a little easier. So that's another thing that like, as we're considering all these things, like we talked about earlier, and like, I want to, when we launch, make a big splash, but maybe we consider, hey, launch a couple of months earlier without this tournament idea and then add it in 2 months. I don't know. We're still deciding things like that. What do you think?
A tournament. I mean, listen, you know me, I stand on tournaments, but people love people. Yeah, you're going to ask me what I think. What do I think about tournaments, Phil? Let's get rid of them. Okay. Fuck tournaments. Let's make it all PLO. Let's make it all PLO focus. You know, but I understand people out there love, you know, they love tournaments. So I guess
so 3 months sooner, all PLO cash games only. That's what you
I'm playing. Listen, I'll stream it every single day if we get that out there, man. I don't care. I'll be on the site. I'll be where I gotta go. I don't know where I have to. I'll go to the Caribbean, man. I'll go down there, hang out with somebody down there. So, but I mean, cool. I don't really know what the tournament idea could be. Is this like an innovative idea? Is this like, are you going to charge 55%? Like, what's the rake or something? What do you think's unique about the idea?
Yeah, it's just super high rake tournaments is what we're doing.
Cool. Okay, I like that.
Yeah. Right. No,
is there any chance you make the starting stacks less than 20 big blinds chew as well, or is that something that we can't do? If we're in a high rake, we want to make the structures.
If you're doing one, if you're raising the rake, you need shorter stacks.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Flashing lights, whatever. So I don't know, but okay, the actual idea. What could the actual idea be like? Can you give us a hint? What's the idea like? What are we looking at here?
What is a hint? It's kind of a.
It could be something like the cage we've seen where people start with certain starting stacks, that the blinds go up every 30 minutes, something like that, and then at the end you cash out what you have, and sometimes one player wins, sometimes a couple of players cash out some money.
It's a little bit. It has something in common with that. Is that in that it's like a little bit less tournamenty of a tournament.
Okay, I kind of like that. It sounds cool. I mean, listen, I'm not going to play no tournaments, but no, that's not true, Phil. It's not true. I'm actually going to try to win a bracelet by the time I turn 40. So I am going to. Yeah, I'm gonna try to win a bracelet. Not PLO either. No limit hold'em.
No limit hold'em is a hard one to win. I mean, there are a lot of events, but they're bigger fields.
I'm not going to restrict it to any certain game type. I'm just going to say a bracelet in general. I want to try to win a bracelet because if you win a bracelet, then obviously people think that you're a much better poker player, no matter where your skill level falls. So it's like if you win a bracelet, all of a sudden you're great at poker, and your family thinks you're cool. So I'm going to try to win a bracelet for my family out there. Shout out to my family. And yeah, we're getting a lot of good questions here. Obviously, they ask about the Zoom compared to regular tables. That's one question too. Yeah,
that's one that I have to wait on.
Wait on that one. Okay. Let's see here. HUD allowed. Is HUD allowed? HUD allowed.
Have to wait on that. Okay. Sorry. Like I said before, I'm excited to talk about all of it. I really am genuinely excited to talk about all of it. But yeah, it's just too early.
And listen, guys, even if a HUD's not allowed, man, there's these people out there, they create HUDs. I'm just saying, man, okay? I don't know. I'm going to be honest with Phil out here. A lot of things happening out there right now. They're not allowed. It's just they happen, okay? I don't know what to say. What poker software is Phil going to run on the site? Will it be the usual suspects such as iPoker Network, or is it original software? I imagine it's original software.
Yeah. If we were going to be on a network, it would have been done a long time ago. So yeah. We're trying our hardest.
Are you guys going to offer a game type where first place wins less than second place too? Because I think those are popular right now. on PokerStars?
Yeah. I think we might.
Okay.
Basically, we're just taking all of their ideas and taking them further. Is the majority of our ideas.
Yeah, it seems good. I mean, obviously, I know some get some athletes on there too. Maybe like Shaquille O'Neal was one of the ambassadors for the site or something like that, and kind of bring those guys in there. Have you thought about who the team of ambassadors is going to be? Is it going to be Ike Hollywood Haxton's a free agent out there right now? You thought about some members you're going to have on there in terms of those people?
Yeah, there are conversations we've had. There are a lot of things that we want to do eventually, but in the short term, like when we launch, this is one of the areas we're not totally decided on. Is we only have so much to spend on marketing that we want to basically make it count. We can't do all of it, so I'm not sure where it's going to go immediately, but that's definitely one of the options. And obviously, I think which would go make sense with the Run It Once brand. If we went the route of building up kind of a team, it would be the kind of like players you'd associate with Run It Once, already.
Right, Jay Kuhn, Sauce, kind of guys like that. Maybe. Yeah,
and just focus on online streamers, things like that.
Yeah.
Rather than all the professional athletes we know.
And we know a lot of professional athletes, Phil. So,
yeah.
I mean, my buddy Jay Nanda's in the chat. What's up, Poppy? Remember, guys, I said Jay Nanda's podcast. That's going to be tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to get more in depth in PLO after dark because, I think me and Janice are two of the biggest PLO nerds right now in terms of just thinking about PLO and talking about PLO. And I would make all my videos PLO related, Phil, if I could. But people like more other content. More people want to watch that. They don't necessarily want to dive into just Pop Up in Omaha, unfortunately. So
yeah, I understand.
So yeah, it's like the challenge. You think about I guess for the site questions, what do you think? What would you say your main goal is with the site? Because obviously, PokerStars right now, I think their main goal is they want to make as much money as they possibly can. They want to make $100 million, billion, $trillion. I think that's what their goal is.
Yeah,
they've made it clear. They made it clear. They made it very clear in multiple different articles, published articles in very highly respected, content sites or websites or magazines that they do not want the winning players on the site. That's what they've said. They say, fuck the winning players on there. They don't want them on there. Now, I imagine your goal is slightly different with this.
Sure.
Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's a business. We'd like to succeed, but if I had to sum up my goal would be to make a site that I would want to play on more than the other sites. I mean, that's a pretty succinct way to sum it up. I mean, yeah.
Alan says unlimited accounts for Guy, just like the good old full tilt days.
Just like the good old days, yeah.
Allegedly, Alan. Come on, man. We got proof. I never seen that. That is confirmed. Okay, all right. I don't know. So yeah, man, it kind of sounds exciting, man. So I guess we can kind of. I mean, I don't know. Let's say maybe a year from now, something like that. Let's keep it safe. Maybe something like that.
I don't know.
We'll see. Maybe longer.
Well, I genuinely don't know, but also I am not ready to say what we're looking at right now.
Well, either way, man, I'll still be. Anytime someone asks me about what I think about online poker, I say, listen, man, Run It Once poker's on the horizon. And they say, you sure it's on the horizon? I say, listen, man, it's on the horizon. You got to believe in something. I believe in certain things. I don't believe in too much that strongly, but I believe that Run It Once poker is going to be a very great thing for the poker community. I believe it'll be something that'll be, in that same vein of what Isai Scheinberg had when he created PokerStars as a place for people to play the game, to be able to, at least win at the game. And that, I got faith in that. I got confidence in that. So I'm very excited to kind of see what develops, what happens. And I know it's a tough task. It's a tough challenge. So,
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. We're trying hard.
Oh, and all right, let me get to this next topic here, which is the DFS site, draftboard.com. Obviously, we talked about this beginning. You announced it. You launched the DFS site. You mentioned that you don't want to take all the credit for that. You don't want to be cocky because you got a big team of guys that are also with Run It Once that have been helping out with this. I guess from your standpoint, do you feel like you might be spreading yourself and your energy too thin by bringing this on board, even though it sounds like you're more of maybe just a name attached to it, not necessarily like in the grind trenches handling it? Do you feel like you might be spreading yourself a little bit too thin in terms of having this on and then run it once, and then poker, and then the poker site too.
Yeah, definitely. I think I definitely spread myself too thin, and it kind of just happened. We took on several projects, all of which we thought would be smaller than they were. And as it turns out, they were all a lot of work and took a lot of time. And, it's not like anybody's neglecting any of them. We've just hired a lot more staff. And so like there are full teams attending to each aspect of Run It Once. Like Dan's running draft board entirely. He used to run It Once training entirely, basically, but now somebody else is doing that. So like we've got enough bodies to handle it. But myself, like, yeah, I can check in with every business. I can contribute to ideas and things like that. But in terms of like actual work, and especially, in terms of being focused on one thing and being able to kind of make better decisions, have better ideas, it's hard to spread focus across all of them. And that's why I've kind of let them run with draft board and kind of check in with me when needed. And also, I've never been a DFS player. So yeah, like my opinions, I'd like to think I would have some smart ideas, but for the most part, they got it. They got this.
One more question back to the poker site. Jane has asked this question, and this is something I want to know too. Will I be able to be a Supernova Elite again? Because I want to know that question too. As a two-time Supernova leader, I'm not sure. I think Jane has got more than me, but I don't know. My Supernova Elite is so awesome, and obviously, then you're advocating 24 mass tabling, and you're advocating these like robotic like play, which I know people want to go away from, boring stuff like that. But are we going to see potentially something like that where you walk around without that I don't know, Super Elite was always so sweet to me. Maybe it's just me because I'm crazy, but that idea of getting there drove me for like, what was it the first year I got it? 2010? So yeah, like that 2007, 8, 9, I was like, oh my God, Super Elite, I'm going to get there. And like, that was my driving force for the first couple of years of my career.
Yeah, man. Like we have a rewards plan already, but it's just, I want to save all this,
Okay. Run it once elite. Is that what it's going to be?
Sorry, Jane Anez, what's up? But yeah.
Run once elite. That's what we're going to be. All right. So back to the DFS site. So I guess, I looked on the site and it looks like I was like, oh, I like messaged you. I was like, what's the DFS site about, bro? I'll make some content for it. Like I got some people that watch my DFS stuff from doing my show at Roto Grinders last year. Like I have a lot of context in the industry with a lot of sites from people I've met. I was like, what's going on with this thing? And then I looked, and a lot of sites you can't really play on there, it seems like. A lot of sites you can't play on there. So what's the kind of thinking about that? Because it seems like when you're promoting the site, like me, I'm like, oh shit, I'm playing a site, cool. But like where I live at Illinois, Indiana, you can't really play on there. So
yeah,
what you thinking about that?
Do you mean what decisions we made about states and why?
Yeah, I guess what does that even work? What does that entail? How does that work? So I don't know much about it. I just know that certain sites, like, you can play DraftKings or FanDuel, but other sites you can, and some sites you can't. Like only two sites or two states you can play some sites. So I just don't know much about how it works.
Yeah, it's if I get anything wrong here, then someone will correct me. But my understanding is based on where you are rather than where you live, which is a little slightly different, I guess, than poker sites. But it is like this. We decided to take a pretty conservative approach. There are some states that are kind of gray that we opted not to, not to try to offer play to. We don't have the legal team that DraftKings and FanDuel have. If the states want to come after us. So we've been a little conservative. There are a few states that the bigger sites have that we don't. Only a few, which specifically because they just have like extremely high for a small business licensing fees. Like to get a license in whatever it is. I guess Nevada. They don't offer play in Nevada though, do they?
Not legally, Phil. You're not supposed to play it. You're not supposed to play in Nevada legally, correct?
Yeah. So anyways,
I don't know what anyone's doing. I imagine no one's also doing, this is a who comes to Vegas to gamble, and I am, yeah. No, correct.
But yeah, so if there's a state that you can play DraftKings or FanDuel that you can't play on draft board, it's either A, because we're being more conservative, or B, because we have not yet applied for the license or are in the application process. And I guess if we haven't applied yet, it's because we decided that like the fee for licensing in that state compared to the population of that state is not time yet. But I mean, I think that we have a lot of overlap with them. We don't cover quite as many states, but we have some overlap, or, you know, a good amount of the states at least.
Andrew L. says, can't find the site, draftboard.com. So can you, I know you mentioned, you talked about there'd be a different, I guess, I don't know how much people out there really know about DFS too, but I like for doing this site, and you mentioned, I think that you said that instead of getting into DFS training, you got into the DFS operating site, which does seem like a very smart decision, by the way. If I can be a trainer, if I could teach you how to beat blackjack or run the blackjack, I want to run the blackjack. I've seen these casinos, I've been walking through them, okay? The casinos are making money. Shout out to Timex, man. They got to be making money with these casinos. So it just seems like being on that side of things, like you give yourself a better chance to be able to be a winner in the game. So I guess when where do you go from this point, right? Like, are you planning to work with some other sites, like, you know, like the Roto Grinder sites, or like how you guys plan to get yourself out there and bring people to the site with all these other sites out there offering games right now?
Yeah, I mean, luckily or not luckily, you know, over the years that we've been developing it, you know, the landscape, well, unluckily, the landscape's gotten a little tougher, just like legal landscape, but luckily that some other sites have gotten out of the way because of that, either been eaten up or shut down. So I mean, obviously DraftKings and FanDuel have practically the entire market. But in terms of number of options, they're not all that many. And so obviously to reach the kind of players that they reach, or even, you know, anywhere close, we're going to need to do some marketing. But especially with like, to do really serious marketing, we'd have to be taking a lot of resources away from Run It Once Poker, which is not what we want to do. And so we wanted to launch the site. Like, actually, we launched, I tweeted about it yesterday. We launched the day before, and they said, Phil, don't tweet about it because we need to see if we can handle the traffic before. So like, I think, you know, this is kind of in a phase. I wouldn't say we're in beta. We did beta. Site, you know, can work and work pretty well. But like, I think that we're taking the approach of, you know, let it be a slow build for now, get feedback on not only just like if something doesn't work, but feedback on what users like. We actually, the way it's built, I don't know how much you've looked at, but like with the live section, which is like, we actually have a lot of flexibility and can do a lot there to improve the experience. And we kind of just want to get users in. Hopefully they enjoy it. I think they will. And then tell us what they like, what they don't like, or what they would like changed, and kind of continue to build a better site as we grow kind of organically. And then when the time is right, whether it's because, well, for a number of reasons, when the time is right, you know, push it a little bit harder. But yeah, we have become so focused with all of our projects on getting them out the door that we were just like, let's just launch. And then, you know, obviously we have some plans, but let's just launch, and then we'll start talking to Roto Grinders. We'll start talking to these guys, and we'll figure it out from there. But I really do think like a strong belief that we have is that, you know, building a good product is the first step. And if you build a good product, then, you know, as you start to market to more people, you retain the people that you already have because they just enjoy being there. So, you know, if you want to put all your money into marketing and all your focus on marketing, but not build the product, then you get a bunch of people in the door. They play for a little while. They don't really have fun. They leave. And yeah, you've gotten more people in the door along the way. And so you can still keep running the business. But I think the way to grow a really great business is you just have a product people love, and the ones that come in the door stay, and you grow from there. So that's what I'm hoping happens, not only because I think that people will already love it, but we'll keep working on it as we get feedback.
Al says, is Galfond paying Joe to promote his site? No, I am not getting paid any money to promote the site. I will let you know. You know who I'm getting paid by? Today, the podcast sponsor, PLO Quick Pro Manual. They offered me some money for that. I don't know, man. I'm telling you, this whole world, I put this on Twitter today. I'm the worst businessman of all time, Phil. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. Like working with companies, like to me, like promoting something, like it feels like I'm doing something like really wrong. It feels like I'm doing something bad, even though you promote something that you really believe. really believe in. Like the only things I've ever talked about or even said check out are like, I'm not going to tell you to go check out. I don't think I've told someone check out something and they checked it out and they're like, this is fucking shit. I don't think that's ever happened in like pretty much ever for the most part. So, but the idea still to me, it seems so foreign. It seems so like opposite of poker, where it's like poker, you want to make money. It's like you rely, it's yourself completely. But now these other things, it's like you rely on the people you work with. You rely on the audience to then, you know, take it in and do it. It's such a different thing and hard for me to get used to.
Yeah, I do think, I think we're similar in that way and probably could both benefit from being a little more businessy. But I mean, I think it seems like whether or not consciously you share the same philosophy. I would imagine that like a lot of your thinking about what you do is focused on the product, improving the podcast and you know, new ideas for what you do rather than on how to make more money off of it. And or even like, I mean, like how did you spread the word? The word spread, but it was just because people got in the door and liked it and stayed and told people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I got lucky that I was already had like a following on 2+2. I've done the prop bets. I always blog, like, so kind of already had that built-in thing from like just being in the high stakes PLO forum on 2+2. Rest in peace, that forum. You know, no one really necessarily posts on there much anymore, but like I was just always active in there for like a couple of years leading up to it, and always active on 2+2, which really helped out a lot as well. So yeah, I mean, and then the content. I think, you know, as you mentioned, the content itself, I think was really good. Was something new. Was something refreshing to people that, you know, you get to hear, you know, two high stakes guys talk about poker. And I think that's something that, you know, really wasn't done before. So I guess actually it was done by Poker Static, and then they stopped doing it, Phil. Never mind. You're right. My old favorite site for videos that would get on guests that no one else would get. What a concept, huh? What a concept, Phil. What Poker Static? Where are we at with Poker Static right here?
I mean, that was a Blue Fire company. So
no, I didn't poker what? I didn't poker what? I'm not sure what was it called? I forgot. We can't talk about that then. I'm not, I know, you know.
No, it was a good idea. And I really liked the guys associated with, I think, yeah, it was great. It just, it's a hard business.
What do you think the hard business is? Which one? The training or
like, no, the media.
Yeah. I think it could be hard to put it all together, right? Like, you know, in terms of you create good contents, one, get people like it, and one, make money from it. You know, those are all kind of combination of things. And yeah, it certainly can be tough.
Yeah.
So, David Huber in the chat says, IMO, the Poker Live podcast spread because of how unique it is and the unbelievable value it provides to the community, debatably. Thank you, David, of course. I know David's been, he's written about the podcast a lot. Shout out to David. He's done a lot of really good work and good writing out there. So I appreciate those words. But I guess that, you know, some people might feel that way. So not really too sure about it. But I guess, you know, from here, where does things go next? You know, the PLO After Dark just ended. Now you told me, I think you're splitting your time between Vegas and between Malta. So what's the plan here for the rest of the year? What do we got? We're October? Shit, I don't know.
I'll be in Vegas.
October,
I'll be in Vegas
right?
mostly. Yeah, it's October, or it's about to be October.
Yeah. Is it? My God, is it really? Oh my God, I've been here for 4 months. Holy crap.
Yeah.
So yeah, so plan is just kind of keep working on things here with the poker site and with the training site and with a little bit DFS stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Simple.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
It seems like, by the way, it seems like your wife, Farah, you mentioned she's getting a lot into poker. So sounds like she's somehow playing more poker than you are, which you probably
a lot more
have expected.
Yeah, she's the one. She's the only one earning money right now. I'm spending it on the business.
So she's a winning poker player right now.
Yeah, she's winning. I mean, you know, still small samples, but she's been playing in that big game, in Ivy's room, and been doing pretty well. Ups and downs, obviously, but you know, the games are pretty good, and she's getting better and better, and yeah, so far so good.
Moppy, she's playing the big game in Ivy's room?
Playing the Ivy's room game, yeah. That started
when
like
did she start?
a couple months ago. I went on a trip like maybe half a year ago or something with with a group of people. JRB was there, and he was making fun of me that I can't play in the game. And he's like, well, Farah can play. I'll let Farah play. And it was just, we didn't talk about it. And then a few months later, or I guess a few months ago, what was it? I walked in there while they were playing to go to my box, and he mentioned it again. He's like, hey, does Farah want to play? And like, I guess I thought I didn't think he was joking, but I just didn't really think about it. And then that time he said it and I looked around the room. I was like, yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I mean, to get invited to that game, he's inviting your wife to play the game, so you can that'll give people an idea of who might be playing in this game. So yeah.
So yeah, she's been playing in it for maybe a few months now. She was super nervous at first because obviously it's high stakes, which she had only played as high as 510 before, and she's playing 300, 600, but she's settled in nicely. And definitely feels a lot more calm. It's a lot of the same people usually, so yeah, she's settling in.
Coming up on the podcast Sunday, Farrah Galfond talking about playing 300, 600 in Bobby and Ivy's room. Going to be on the podcast. That's great. So she played before you met her. I that's how you guys met. So she was playing poker before. She didn't just start like when you guys met, and now she's playing 300, 600 and one of the fastest rises and possibly in the history of poker.
Yeah. Yeah, no, okay. She was playing. I mean, she played recreationally for a long time. And I mean, I don't think she's ever considered herself a professional. But I mean, she just plays a lot. Like, especially since we moved to Vegas 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. And she's just played a lot since we've been here. And you know, I think that it's not even that she's like, we've had poker lessons and that I've imparted a lot of wisdom, but I think even just realizing the way that people think about poker kind of flipped a switch for her. And she just stopped playing, you know, thinking about it as just like, you know, the same way you'd think about roulette, and started thinking about what you should be starting to think about. And it's funny, we definitely think in very different ways. So I actually struggle a little bit to teach her, because she's like, legitimately, she's improved a lot and gotten very good. But when I try to talk to her about like the types of things I would talk about in my videos, I think I just mess her up and make her make mistakes. Like, she'll misapply what I say, or I don't know.
Right.
So I'm like, especially since she got in this game, I just keep thinking like, man, I really just have to sit her down and like, because there's so much EV. Like, I think she's plus EV now, but if I can make her like a lot better, there's so much EV. But every time I've tried it, I don't know if it's helped that much. I think she just learns by playing better than by listening to me.
So is she like, because I've you know, I had my ins and outs, my off and ons with maybe women that play poker, and they play poker maybe at some stakes, you know, that are reasonable. And it seems like when you talk poker with these women, Phil, they don't want to listen to you at all. Like, they're like, no, Joey, no, I gotta see bet that. I gotta see bet that hand, like a PLO specifically. I'm thinking about one woman very specifically, by the way. Shout out to her. I know she's might actually be watching this right now. Shout out to her. And talking poker with her, and even a couple other women that I know, and not necessarily been the easiest thing for me to do. And maybe this was because it was a dynamic of, you know, two people together, whereas not a coach to this. It's like, no, you're kind of like my friend, or I'm like dating you, and you know, why don't you just be that instead of trying to fucking coach me? You know what I mean? Whatever. We're the same here. So I felt like that dynamic was super unique and much different than just like a regular coaching dynamic.
Yeah, it is. I think it is the relationship dynamic more than anything else. It is, because like I've like, I don't want to say that she never talks to me about hands and things like that. She does, but like, I've tried to push a little harder and she just doesn't really like it. And then like, we'll be hanging out with Jason Kuhn and his girlfriend, and like, she'll talk about a hand, or he'll say something and she'll be like, oh, what about this? And then he'll start explaining it and like, oh, interesting. What about this? I live with you.
Okay.
I can.
Okay, good. I've noticed that happen. I specifically noticed that one time. I was like, wait, what? I literally said the same thing, and you're like, no, motherfucker, no. And like, that's quoted, direct quote. That's what you said. No, motherfucker, no. I was like, what you mean, no? Okay. And then that's so funny that you say that. You're out with Jay Kuhn, and she's telling her, and she's like, oh yeah, okay, really? Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
That okay. Wow. I'm glad I wasn't. I just thought I was going crazy that time. So Andrea says, haha, Kuhn better coach. I don't know, man, Phil. I don't know.
I mean, he's got to be a better no limit coach. So yeah. I guess I need to talk to him.
That's true. Maybe she thinks you're washed up from No Limit since you only been playing the great game.
Yeah. She's like, what do you, Phil, you never play No Limit. I play every day.
Fair point. I mean, to beat this game, I don't know if that matters, but at the same time, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, certainly could be a thing. We're gonna have a couple of questions. A couple of questions from the chat. I want to ask you about, I guess I talked about this book earlier, and this question keeps coming up, man. And I feel like someone's got to solve the question, Phil. I don't know what the solve is. What's the best way for people to learn Pop in Omaha? I think we talk about this all the time, and for me, man, like when I work with people when they're just learning, and then I'm like, it's so easy. Like, come on, just do this. It's easy. And then I actually start working with them, and they're like, all right, what do I do with top pair here? I'm like, oh my God, this is actually really hard.
Yeah, you forget how much you know.
Yeah, it's wild. And then I start thinking, well, then what's the best way? Because there's different resources out there now with books and with sites, with Run It Once, they have the videos here, and people are trying to learn live, some people are trying to learn online. And I feel like there maybe isn't really something that just kind of, I guess, like the path, and maybe there isn't a path because it does require some study and play. And for some people it's more play, some people it's more study. So I guess if you're going to say someone out there and they said, hey, I want to learn Pop in Omaha, I want to learn a great game. I see Joey talking about it. I see Phil, I see Phil playing Poker After Dark, and I've watched a lot of his videos on Run It Once, so I just don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Like, what would you say right now, 2017, is the way to go upon learning how to do it? Extreme Machine, not an option, CJ. No, Extreme Machine, I don't know if that would help him. I don't know.
Yeah, it's, you made some good points already that I was going to make. It's basically, I do think it matters a lot. I think you need to play and study in some way, both in conjunction with each other. And B, it's for some people it's different. I think myself, I learn better from videos than from books or articles or similar things. Some people definitely prefer to read books. Some people prefer to do like whatever, Poker Juice, Pro Poker Tools, math work, or whatever PLO solvers exist now. I think it also depends a lot on your current skill level. Like Run It Once. Like for a total beginner, I wouldn't really say to get Run It Once. I think a lot of it's just going to be over your head. Really built like a from the ground up system, which I kind of wish we did, and we just built like all these other businesses instead because we couldn't take on as much as we couldn't take on anymore. But like the 0 to, I don't even know what scale I'm using, but 0 to 20, and then from there I think videos are good, books are good, depending on what you like to learn. I think the best thing somebody can do if they are like either with a coach or on their own, but I think like if I were to coach some low stakes players, I think the best thing you could do is build a study group so that they're not just learning from me, but they're discussing it with each other. I think learning in a group, learning in a group is almost always the best way to learn.
I think so. I would agree with that. Actually, how I learned poker was we had a group of people where we would get together, we would talk poker, talk No Limit, talk 10 cent, 25 cent hands, and try to get better at it. I mean, I'm pretty sure you did back in the day too. You had a crew, you're playing like sit and goes back in like 2005 or some crazy shit. Like, when was it? When was it? 2000 what?
2005 was, I think 2005. I started playing at the very end of 2004, and in 2005, I wasn't a fish. So 2005 is when I started talking to people, playing sit and goes.
So long ago, man. So long ago.
I know. It's weird. It's really weird.
Yeah. It's like anytime you get over that 10-year mark. I mean, you think about some guys like Phil Hellmuth, he's been in since like the 80s. So it's that 30 some years he's been in poker. It just seems like, but I guess it also seems like poker, for the most part, I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I don't think live poker is going away. Online poker could develop, but I don't see the online poker community really ever going away for the most part. So it does seem like something that you can, if you want to maintain an effort, you can stay a part of it for the foreseeable future too.
Yeah, I think so.
So it'll be interesting to see how things kind of develop here. Guys, let's get some questions from the chat. I see a lot of people out there, and it's good to be back on the podcasting here, man, with my brand new light. And some people said, do I get a fake tan? No, I live in Vegas. I go outside, dorks. Okay, I go get a tan in the sun, and I go swim for my prop bet that I don't think we're postponing it, me and Bill Perkins, because of hurricanes issues down in St. Thomas with the stream boat. So we'll figure out what's happening with our swimming prop bet for me. But now I can swim, so hey, it wasn't a total waste of time. But I did spend a lot of time swimming. So
Nice.
So what do you think about playing with Jungle Man, by the way? Jungle Man, he's unique guy, Phil. Unique guy, man. You know, talking about jungle magic, talking about he spent so much time in the jungle, he can smell the bluff, and I'd pay a lot of money just to watch Jungle Man talk. Just anything really. I don't care what he talks about, just talk.
Yeah, he's great. I love playing with Jungle Man. I mean, like, he's a really good player, but it's still just, it's so fun. And especially if you're sitting right next to him, because you miss, I guess maybe with his mic you could pick up a lot, but like, he talks to himself for most of the time. And it's just a lot of fun. And I mean, he's like, obviously he gets really angry and can get upset, but he's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy and pleasant to be around, other than the, like, if you don't mind the yelling and the that kind of stuff, which I don't at all. I think he definitely rubs some people the wrong way with, like, getting mad, especially over like really small pots and things. He'll get really mad. And also, like, what I've kind of grown to love, and I think it's funny now, but sometimes when you're losing it at first, it's not so funny. It's just like, he just gets so happy when he wins or like makes a successful play. He's like giddy, he's giggling and just so thrilled. Even if like you're stuck 400K and he stacks you, he's just laughing. But once you realize that that's just how he's going to be, no matter what, he's just going to wear his emotions on his sleeve. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think you mentioned yesterday, you enjoy it when you make a good call, and then I think he maybe said he enjoys it when he makes a good bluff. I think that was that, or maybe that was maybe you and Chance. But I think Jungle Man, and by the way, that little weird, Phil, that you get more out of making a big call than making a big bluff. I think I get more out of, well, unless it's against a regular I fucking hate and I always bluff catch him and I'm always wrong, then I really like making a call against him, because I'm like, finally this guy bluffed. I'm going to make 10 more incorrect calls in the future now, because I finally caught this guy bluffing. And believe me, that happens all the time. I feel like it actually happens against guys like Brandon Adams. I feel like Brandon Adams is a guy, you know, he's like one of those he's one of those nitty regulars who always 4-bet. They always have aces. You always want to stack them so hard. They 3-bet you, and most of the time they have aces again too. And then they'll make a random bluff. Once in a while, they'll do something fucking weird, do something crazy, show up with some weird thing, and you probably won't call him down. When you call him down, you're like, what the hell's happened to this guy? And then they just keep showing up at the top of the range in all those spots. And we saw Brandon fold aces pre-flop yesterday. So, and from watching him play, it seems like he might be that kind of guy where he just those nitty regs, man. I don't know. Like, they're not bad, but they're just nits. And I want to stack them so bad, Phil. I want to stack them so bad.
Yeah, I know. I mean, a lot of my friends who are more like GTO oriented players, like fully, they just get so mad at the players that never bluff, because they just feel obligated to call because of GTO, and then they're just, you know, they lose again and again. I think those players frustrate them the most.
Yeah.
I think
someone said there's an echo. Well, guys, I don't know where the echo. I don't know which side the echo is coming on. Hopefully, it's not on my side. Hopefully, it's on. Hopefully, it's not on anybody's. Is it on your phone?
I don't know. I was saying hopefully.
Oh, hopefully it's my fault. I don't know. I'll take the win for it. But I know Brandon did fold King Queen 9-8 with the King 8 of diamonds to a 3-bet when the cutoff, and you 3-bet him on the button. So after that, like,
I didn't watch it. I didn't see these hands, so I didn't know he folded aces pre. What was the action?
I think it was Chance opened the button. I believe. I think. I'm pretty sure. Someone can double check me if I'm wrong. I think that Chance opened button. Josh 3-bet small blind, and then he folded aces in the big blind. I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
It can't be, right?
Listen, I said the same thing. I don't know. Someone please tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm incorrect. We can come back to that, but I'm not 100% sure. But that's what Ali said, and I read this in the forums that he did fold the aces there too. And I tried to rewind. I was like, "There's no way he fold aces." So I don't know, but you can check it, guys. It's towards the end near the end of the podcast. But he was also kind of locking it up. He was up about 70,000 or something like that. And yeah, I think so. He was definitely playing a lot tighter. We saw that he folded that 3-bet King Queen 9-8 with King 8 of diamonds from the cutoff. So
yeah, he had a rough start, I think, on day one, and probably and he knew he was leaving, flying that night. He maybe was happy to book a win.
Yeah. I don't think that's I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But you're right. That first day he lost, you know, that there was that check raise that Hollywood pulled on the river against him, where he was down 200,000. So yeah, I think he was he did lose a bunch that first day. So it kind of makes sense that that he would do that. So let me take a look at the list. I think I have most of the stuff off here. Jungle Man story. You have a Jungle Man story.
Everybody has a Jungle Man story. It's just like
what's your Jungle Man?
Which one to pick? Man, I guess No, I don't have a great Jungle Man story. I mean, a lot of them are like secondhand. I really liked when, like at the beginning, after right after Black Friday, when myself and a couple other guys moved to Vancouver. He tried to move to Vancouver, and they didn't let him through at the border, and instead made him sign something saying he wouldn't come to Canada for 1 year. And I remember asking about that, and I said, because I just assumed what happened was that he like got mad at them and started yelling, because why else would they make him sign something saying I won't come back to Canada for 1 year? Like, they didn't let him in, and he had to sign something, or he did. I don't know if he had to. That said he wouldn't enter Canada for a year. I asked him though. I was like, "Did you get angry with them or anything?" And he's like, "No." Well, maybe I got a little frustrated. So I'm just assuming that I'm assuming that he yelled at them. But I mean, that's not really his story. That's just kind of normal Jungle Man. I don't know. Nothing sticks out.
And then he went to Romania and found himself a Romanian girlfriend, and then the rest was history. So maybe it was better he didn't get into Canada. Yeah, we all dream about having a Romanian girlfriend. So shout out to her. And shout out to her friend that I somehow met too. Jane Endes says, ask Phil for 3 book recommendations that Phil might have.
Wow. I surprise a lot of people. I don't read anything at all. Like, the last time I read a book was probably, I don't know, 5 years ago or something. So I don't have book recommendations.
Okay. Question from Brittany. Phil, how many hours are you spending in the gym? In that polo shirt on Poker After Dark this week, you were looking swole as a motherfucker. How do you do it, and what's your secret? Can you tell us, please? Brittany.
It's really funny. Because I saw some people mention that when you posted about the podcast in the picture, like that black and white picture. And that black and white picture is from, I was in like the best shape of my life at that point. I was, I don't know, 4 years ago or something. And I had been in the gym a lot for like, I don't know, 8 months. But like I've been working out for 2 weeks after not working out for a year. So I'm surprised. I think maybe I'm like leaner than I was. I fluctuate in weight a lot. So I don't know. I think there's like a perception issue, but I'm not like from that image, I was significantly stronger and in better shape than I am now. I haven't been doing much.
You like that picture, Phil? You like that? You like the selection I went with there for you? Black and white, you against the wall, looking jacked as a motherfucker. I thought it was a really great selection to go with for a photo for you. Phil Freeze? I think he died. Maybe I died. Am I dead? Is Phil dead? Maybe the picture scared him. Wait, let me see if I'm working. Test. Am I working? Phil died. Let's get some shout outs here, boys. If we get some shout outs, who we got out there? Robert Leeson, Poppy. What's up, man? Rumardi Castillo. What's up, Rumardi? What's happening, man? Nielos Menyes. What's up, Poppy? Ronasas Guerrero. What's up, man? GD. Carlos Montero. My buddy Jacob Olsen. What's up, Jacob? What's happening, man? Daniel Force. What up, Daniel? The Tender 31. What's up, Tender? Rob Schmeiler. What up, man? DB, Tanner Rose, Lee Jam, Chris Deans, who wants to take Jay Nanez behind a building and show him what he's got with himself. Oh, Phil, you're back. What's happening, man? Welcome back.
Not too much. I don't know where I left off. What'd I miss?
I was giving some shout outs. Do I get some shout outs? You got somebody you want to give a shout out to, Phil? Shout
out to you. No, shout out to the whole team, draft board. I'm afraid now to list them all, but yeah. Dan, Zach, Craig, Parker, Justin, Pedro, Drew, Ryan, and then everybody else, like across the Run Once teams that have been helping with kind of their areas of expertise. They've been working really hard, and especially like as we were getting into, like we were trying to launch before the NFL season started, and now, you know, being a few weeks in, they've just been putting in a ton of hours because you don't want to miss the whole NFL season. So shout out to them.
Definitely shout out to them. But if you work for the poker site, Phil, I got no fucking love for you. No shout out no shout out to those guys. Never mind. They're not getting no shout out. No shout outs for
just, I mean, you know, this week it's shout out to them, and next time.
Carlos Montero says, I'm falling asleep with Phil's voice. Now, I know we talked about this last podcast, but I do want to reiterate, and I've heard it from other people too. It's scary how many people have said they've fallen asleep to your voice, Phil. And I can understand it because I used to put it on and then I would just fall asleep. And maybe I feel like I subconsciously consumed a lot of Pop Omaha knowledge by those sessions when I'd fall asleep. And I sort of dream well, I don't dream, let's not get carried away, but I hope that people out there maybe fall asleep to my voice, although it's not quite as soothing and as just like peaceful as yours is. But, you know, still when you hear that, like, what do you think when people tell you they fall asleep to your voice at night?
I just think it's funny. I mean, I still, I probably fall asleep to a poker video of some kind, 4 nights a week. So, and I mean, I always, like, it used to be back in the Card Runners day, I'd fall asleep to Townsend's voice usually. Mm-hmm. It is what it is, you know?
Don't tell me you're falling asleep to Doug Polk videos, Phil.
No, it's all Run-At-Once videos, obviously.
Okay, I was going to say, don't tell me you're watching Doug on YouTube videos and falling asleep.
He doesn't have a good falling asleep voice. He's a little bit too much energy.
Yeah, that's true. He definitely does. That's what I'm saying with me. I don't know if someone could fall asleep to my voice. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they do. Who knows? But yeah, you have a very peaceful voice. I think like Sauce, just because you don't know what he's saying sometimes, you fall asleep to his voice. Yeah. I used to really like sleeping to Tyler Forrester's videos because I definitely didn't know what he was talking about at No Limit. So I'd fall asleep to him all the time.
Yeah, I fall asleep to his a lot. I think Tyler, 3 most common are Tyler, Kevin Rabashow, and Chris Kruk, Apotheosis.
Yeah, I think for Kevin, I like watching his heads up videos, even though I haven't played heads up No Limit, and I don't think I'll ever will, hopefully, except against. Well, there are some times I actually been playing heads up No Limit, but I don't know if it's appropriate for the podcast to get into. But whatever, man. Let me get a couple more questions from the chat here and kind of see. Anti-Peditine says Darian's voice is the best. That cannot be true. I don't think Darian's voice is the best. No.
I mean, his voice is calm and.
I mean, I don't know what he's saying. So I mean, you know, maybe I guess so. Yeah, I don't know here. I sleep right after busting. That'd be good for the sleep podcast, but I'm not going to finish that one. Can anyone help me in the dark web so I can buy some? No, not time out that guy. Give me a couple more questions, guys, and then we're going to wrap it up. Are we talking Shrip heads up No Limit? Jacob says, maybe. Odd Dotson voice. Odd Dotson voice obviously is one of the greatest voices of all time. Odd Dotson is a legend for sure. Odd Dotson's something. He's a something. No doubt about it. I wish I can see him naked. Okay. Yannick, no. Phil, I don't know. Okay. Is there going to be any like, I've been playing on some of the, I won't even leave that. I'll leave that joke out. There's this website where they have webcams on and you play, I don't know, whatever.
Sure.
It's like an online site basically. What would Phil do differently if he was starting his poker career? Lou Clan asks.
If I were starting it now or back then?
How about both?
Okay. Man, I mean, it's tough to say back then because I just know so many things that I didn't know. I guess I would just, I mean, back then, I probably, especially because I was in college and had no expenses, for the first while just invested any money that I made into coaching and anything like that, just because, I mean, pays off for over a decade so far, at least, you know, any progress that you make early in your career. Or any point in your career if you're going to have a lot of career after that. So I think, yeah, in a spot where you don't have a lot of expenses, I mean, obviously you're trying to save up a bankroll too, so that you can move up and start playing bigger and earning more. But in the grand scheme of things, if your plan is to play for a long time, then, you know, you kind of can't invest enough, assuming that you know, you're not having money troubles elsewhere or don't need it elsewhere, then, you know, just investing in your growth as a player. Super important. I think that surrounding yourself, which I kind of did, surrounding yourself, like we talked about, with other players, talking poker all the time, I think just helps you grow a lot. And probably, you know, along the same lines and actually I did this too back then, but not for the same reasons. But, you know, early on, maybe challenge yourself a little more in terms of game selection and put yourself in some tough games against tough opponents, even if you're not making money, for the sake of learning, because that learning will pay off over the years.
Okay. Okay, I like that. Invest in yourself, get some, put people around you. I think it's always a good idea. Get some coaching, or just invest in however that is. I think that's a good idea too. I guess then people say, where do I find the coaching? You know, because there's so many people spread out, and like, you know, that part's the challenge. I've heard a lot of people ask me is, you know, how do you find a good coach? And
I think that's really tough. I think that part of, like, once you, I actually don't know a lot about like the 2+2 community 12 years ago was great. And you could find a lot of like-minded people trying to learn the game. Not saying that it's not now, but I don't know. I'm not on there that much. But if you can find, like, start getting a circle of friends, acquaintances to learn poker with, and then I would say the best way to find a coach is through a recommendation of somebody that's actually used a coach before. Because it's important just important to be able to trust them, not only just trust in like the most obvious sense of not stealing from you, but trust in terms of, you know, they're a dedicated coach and they put in the time and things like that.
A couple guys ask, is PG invested in crypto?
And not as much as a lot of the guys around me, but I have a little bit.
Okay. A little bit in there. All right. Is he in? All right. I think that's it. Phil, you got anything else that you might want to add to things here?
No, I mean, I guess you can't play. I was hoping maybe I'd like to get some feedback from people about Draft Board. I was hoping you'd check it out, but like, you can't really check it out in the same way. I realized that some other people can. Maybe though, if you find, if you find out that you have some friends that tried it out and like it or hate it, or have some ideas, let me know. We could talk about that. But right now, it's still new. I guess we haven't had a game yet, or, you know, contests yet. That'll happen this week.
Well, can I check it out at all? Can I go on there? I can just look, but I can't sign up or anything like that.
Yeah, you can look, and you can't sign up. I mean, I guess there are things that I could show you that you couldn't see otherwise, but you can't play from here. I think you could open an account, but it's not going to do you any good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. See, I'd be, can you play in California?
I actually don't know the answer. I'd have to, we have.
Damn, you gotta hit the lab. Phil, you gotta hit the lab, son. You gotta hit the lab, man. You gotta research. Come on, kid. All right, guys. So we're gonna wrap it up, man. Listen, man, Phil, always a pleasure to have you come on here. I really appreciate it, man. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, make sure you like the video out there. Hit the like button. We get my coach pats me on the back every time I say it, so please do that. And comment below. Let us know what you think. Let me know on Twitter. Let me or Phil know if you have any questions for Phil about the site, about poker, about great game of Pop the Minoma. Hit him up on social media as well, or myself. The schedule tomorrow night, Jane Andes, 6 p.m. Eastern time, talking Pop the Minoma. Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern time with Stefan Sondheimer, recent high roller champion at the Poker Masters, and then WCOOP main event winner Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern too. And then we do a lot of podcasts, man. A lot of good stuff coming up here lately. I'm getting back on the grind. And Phil, much love, man. I appreciate it, buddy.
You too. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Adios, everybody out there. See you later. That's all I got. Peace out.